So I want you to try a really quick thought experiment with me today.
Uh-huh.
Imagine you just close your eyes, you start walking forward at a pretty brisk pace, and then suddenly, wham, you walk face first right into a solid brick wall.
Yeah, that would hurt a lot. I mean, you'd probably end up with a concussion or, at the very least, a massive bump on your forehead. There's just absolutely no arguing with a brick wall.
Right. And that undeniable, painful solidity is basically how we all experience reality. Our world feels completely black and white. It has weight. It has gravity.
Tangible.
Exactly. And frankly, our survival depends on this physical consistency. Our brains completely rely on the fact that if we drink a glass of water today, it's going to quench our thirst, and it won't, suddenly turn into a ball of fire in our stomachs tomorrow.
Because if reality wasn't predictable in that physical sense, we just simply couldn't function. We need water to put out fires, not start them. We completely rely on the physical rules of the game.
We default totally and utterly to believing that what our physical senses tell us represents the ultimate absolute truth of the universe. But, and this is a big, but what if it's all a trap?
That is the big question.
Because the mission of our deep dive today is to entirely pull the rug out from under that quote-unquote solid reality. We are going to explore the underlying source code of existence, and let me tell you, it completely shatters the illusion of that brick wall.
It really does. And we are stepping way outside standard Western philosophy or, basic physics here.
We really are. We have a profoundly unique foundation for this exploration today. This deep dive is built entirely on teachings produced by Buddha's Practice Incorporated out in Australia.
Which is such a rich source of material.
It's incredible. The insights we'll be discussing come directly from the teachings of speaker consultant Benny, alongside the perspectives of a dedicated seeker of Buddhist teachings, Venerable Ivy. And I do want to give a special acknowledgement to the production team for this material, Notebook, Duke, and Dawn, who really did the heavy lifting to curate and construct the foundation of this whole exploration.
Huge shout out to them, because based on these teachings, we are really going to explore how our reality is actually constructed, why we experience so much suffering within it, and how our daily, minute-by-minute thoughts act as a literal GPS system for our future.
It's a massive paradigm shift.
Completely. We are moving from a physics-based view of the universe to a totally mind-based view of the universe.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand why the brick wall is an illusion, we actually have to start by redefining a word we use all the time, which is the mind.
We do throw that word around constantly, don't we?
We really do. We say things like, oh, I changed my mind, or, keep that in mind.
Oh.
But Consultant Benny's teachings clearly identify that we aren't just dealing with a single uniform mind.
No, not at all. There are actually 3 entirely different levels to it, and confusing them is basically the root of all our problems. Understanding the distinction between these 3 levels is the absolute baseline for everything else we're going to cover today.
So walk us through them. What's the first level?
Well, the first level is definitely the easiest to grasp. In the teachings, it's referred to as the fleshy heart. This is purely biological. It's the physical organ sitting right inside your chest cavity, pumping blood. It's just the hardware that keeps the biological machine running.
Right, and nobody is really confusing their physical heart valve with their actual personality or their consciousness.
Exactly. But the second mind is where things start getting really complicated.
This is the trap.
It is. The second level is called the Yuan Lu Xin, or the conditioned mind. And this is essentially our brain function.
So like our thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, it is our intellect, our running inner monologue, our emotions, our anxieties. When you're stressing out about a job interview tomorrow, or you're trying to decide what to order for lunch, or you're feeling irritated because someone cut you off in traffic, that is the conditioned mind working overtime.
And this is exactly where modern society has completely pitched its tent. I mean, think about René Descartes and his famous conclusion, I think, therefore I am.
Oh, absolutely.
We modern humans totally identify with this second mind. We honestly believe that our fleeting, scattered, stressful thoughts are who we fundamentally are.
And Benny's teachings point out that this is a massive life-defining trap. If you believe you are your thoughts, you spend your entire life basically being dragged around by a leash.
Dragged around by your own brain.
Right. One minute you have a happy thought, so you're up. The next minute you have an anxious thought, so you're down. You're completely at the mercy of this conditioned mind, constantly reacting to external stimuli. But the teachings reveal a much deeper layer.
Because this second mind is not actually the master.
No, it's not. The true master is the third mind.
The third mind. So the teachings call it the wondrous bright true mind, or Myeoming Zenksen.
Now, this true mind is the absolute core of existence, but it is notoriously impossible to describe. The sages and awakened beings of the past just slapped a label mind onto it because, well, they had to call it something.
Without words, humans can't even begin to grasp a concept, right?
Exactly, but any word falls completely short.
It's kind of like trying to explain the color red to someone who's been completely blind since birth. I mean, you can talk about heat or passion or, wavelengths of light, but you can't actually hand them the physical experience of red.
That's a perfect analogy. This true mind isn't a high IQ. It's not something a neurosurgeon can find with a scalpel. You just can't put it under a microscope.
Because it's not physical.
Right, you can't isolate it physically because of what it actually does. The true mind is the source that gives birth to literally everything. Everything. It generates your physical body. It generates your anxious thoughts about lunch. It generates the brick wall you walk into, the earth you stand on, and the billions of stars in the night sky. Everything arises from it.
Okay, so I was trying to wrap my head around the mechanics of this when we were prepping, like how one mind could project all of this physical reality. Tell me if this analogy works. Can we think of it like a giant, ultra-high-definition movie screen?
I like that. Let's run with that. How do you see the screen operating in this context?
Well, on a massive theater screen, you can project basically anything. You could play a breathtaking, peaceful nature documentary with forests and oceans, or you could play a terrifying, gory horror film.
Right.
Or you could just display thousands of lines of boring, monotonous computer code. The images on the screen are constantly changing, swirling, shifting, just like the illusions of our daily lives, the ups and downs.
That analogy actually holds up beautifully because it highlights the mechanism of projection. While the movie changes from a romance to a horror story, the screen itself never alters.
It just sits there.
Exactly. It doesn't get bigger during a giant explosion scene. It doesn't shrink during a quiet, intimate scene. Its fundamental nature never increases, decreases, or changes. It just holds the projection.
Which totally aligns with the traditional metaphors in the teachings, right? I mean,
Right.
they use the metaphor of gold a lot.
Yes, the gold metaphor is classic. You can take a lump of gold and melt it down to shape it into an incredibly beautiful, ornate hairpin, or you can shape it into a plain dinner plate.
Or a trash can, if you really wanted to.
Exactly. The outward appearance, the illusion, the shape, it changes drastically. But whether it's a hairpin or a trash can, the fundamental nature is exactly the same. It's just gold.
I think it's water, too, right?
Yeah, the water metaphor works the exact same way. Whether you're looking at a terrifying ocean hurricane, a quiet stream, or just a single raindrop falling on a leaf, underneath the form, the essence is water.
It's all the same stuff.
It is. And this brings us to a really crucial philosophical concept in the teachings called buli, which translates to non-dependence.
Non-dependence. Meaning what, exactly?
It means the screen, the true mind, establishes the entire illusion. It projects the mountains, the rivers, the stars, the brick walls. But it does not depend on them to exist.
Oh, okay. Meaning if I reach back and just unplug the theater projector, the movie stops playing. The screen just goes black.
Yeah.
But it remains a screen. I
Yeah.
didn't actually need the movie to be a screen.
That's it perfectly. And here is the profound implication of that non-dependence. You can never find the physical screen by digging around inside the plot of the movie.
Oh, that's wild.
Right. If you are watching a movie about a treasure hunt, you can't find the theater screen by looking behind the treasure chest on the film. The illusion cannot grasp the source.
Okay, I follow the logic. I really do. But this raises a huge glaring question for me, and I'm sure for everyone listening.
Lay it on me.
If reality is an illusion, if we are all just pixels on this same perfectly equal true mind screen, and as the teachings say, Buddhas and sentient beings have no difference at that core level, then why is life so heavy?
Ah, yes. The friction of reality.
Right, like why do we feel actual pain and exhaustion and this crushing sense of powerlessness? If it's just a movie, why does walking into the brick wall actually hurt?
That is the exact paradox the teachings address next, because it's a very valid question. To explain this friction between the pure source and our painful reality, consultant Benny brings in a really famous quote from the young Jia master.
What does the quote say?
It says, "In a dream, the 6 realms of existence are clearly present. Upon awakening, the universe is entirely empty."
Okay, so we're essentially living in a highly realistic, immersive daydream, constantly flipping through channels of temporary suffering and temporary pleasure.
Yes, exactly.
I have to push back on that, though. I really do. If it's just a dream, why does a paper cut sting? Why does grief feel like a literal physical weight sitting on your chest? Calling it a dream almost sounds, I don't know, dismissive of human suffering.
I get why it sounds that way, but it's not dismissive at all if we look at the mechanics of a concept called me, which means delusion.
Delusion.
Think about your literal dreams at night. Imagine you are having a vivid nightmare that a tiger is attacking you, or that you're drowning in the middle of a dark, freezing ocean.
Okay.
In that specific moment, while you are asleep, what is happening to your physical body in the bed?
Well, my heart rate is spiking. I'm probably sweating through the sheets. I might even be thrashing around. I feel absolute, genuine terror. I feel like my lungs are actually filling with water.
Exactly. Because in that moment, you are fully controlled by the plot of the dream. You have completely forgotten that your own mind is the author, the director, and the projector of the tiger in the ocean.
I'm just trapped in the narrative.
Right. You believe those external threats are absolute reality. You are controlled by the illusion. And this is the state of delusion. You are being turned by the environment.
Turned by the environment. That makes sense.
The physiological response, the pain, the racing heart is completely real to you within the strict confines of that delusion.
And waking up, what does that look like?
Waking up is the sudden realization that the bed has no tiger and no ocean. The awakened, being the one who genuinely realizes the nature of the true mind, can, quote-unquote, turn things rather than being turned by them. They see the screen, they don't just get lost in the terrifying movie.
Okay, I hear that. But let's ground this for the listener who is maybe sitting in morning traffic right now, stressed out of their mind.
Let's do it.
If I intellectually accept this concept today, if I say, okay, it's a dream, I'm the screen, the traffic is just pixels on a screen, why can't I just Matrix-style fly my car over the highway?
That's the million-dollar question.
Or, even more practically, if I know it's an illusion, why do I still turn beet red with embarrassment when my boss criticizes me in a meeting? Why can't I just say to myself, you're a projection, and feel totally fine?
What's fascinating here is that you've just highlighted the absolute biggest trap on this path. It is the profound danger of confusing intellectual understanding with actual embodied realization.
They aren't the same thing.
Not even close. Just because you read the instruction manual for flying a helicopter doesn't mean you can just jump into the cockpit and successfully fly one.
So reading the philosophy isn't enough to break the physics of the dream.
No, it's not. The reason you can't just fly away, and the reason you still turn red when your boss yells, is due to the cosmic underlying mechanism that governs the illusion itself. In the teachings, it's called Sun Ye Faxian.
Sun Yu Farshian, what does that translate to?
It basically means karma manifesting based on conditions.
Karma manifesting based on conditions. The way you describe that, it sounds strangely mechanical, almost like a computer algorithm executing a script.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. Think of your past actions, your past words, and most importantly, your past thoughts as lines of code that you have been writing for a very long time.
Okay, so we're all coders in this scenario.
Exactly. If you constantly act on angry impulses, if you are petty, if you hold deep grudges, you are literally typing that specific code into the system. And the algorithm must execute. It outputs embarrassing, painful, restrictive results in your reality.
Oh, wow. So when we get mad over some tiny little inconvenience like, I don't know, someone cutting us off in line for coffee, we aren't just having a momentary emotional reaction.
No, you're not.
We're literally typing bad code into the terminal and hitting the enter key.
You are hitting enter. And once you submit that command, you completely lose control of the immediate outcome. The program has to run. The output is generated.
And then when the output arrives, when a relationship falls apart or we feel miserable and stuck in a dead-end job, we look around and we blame the environment.
Oh, yeah.
We blame the boss. We blame the traffic. We blame the economy. But we were the ones who hit enter on that bad code years ago.
That is the core tragedy of delusion. And without rigorous, dedicated awareness training, what happens when a crisis actually hits? When your boss starts yelling, your brain just goes completely blank.
All the philosophy goes out the window.
Exactly. Your intellectual understanding of quote-unquote the screen just vanishes in a split second. You immediately revert to your deepest, oldest emotional code. You get defensive, you get angry, and you get dragged right back into the nightmare.
Man, that is sobering. But okay, if we are the ones constantly writing this sloppy reactive code, what does it look like when someone actually masters the algorithm? What does perfect code output look like?
When an awakened being perfectly aligns with this underlying reality, they develop incredible capacities. The teachings describe this mastery in some really fascinating ways.
So the source material actually brings up a turn here that totally threw me off initially. It mentions a master having the broad and long tongue, which is apparently listed as one of the 32 marks of a Buddha.
Yes.
And I have to admit, my brain immediately conjured up this weird monster movie visual, like a giant physical tongue dragging on the floor.
Yeah, we definitely need to clear that up because that is taking the illusion way, way too literally. In this traditional context, the broad and long tongue isn't a physical mutation at all.
Okay, good to know. So what is it?
It represents the ultimate flawless communication ability.
Oh, so it's about how they speak, not the physical organ itself.
Yes, precisely. Think about the most difficult conversations you've ever had. We usually speak from ego or anger or just a desperate need to be right.
Definitely guilty of that.
We all are. But an awakened being can speak to endless types of troubled beings, people with different languages, wildly different cultural backgrounds, and incredibly deep-seated traumas.
And they can reach them.
They can.
Yeah.
This master can speak the absolute truth of the universe to them using absolutely no useless words and zero emotional pollution. They speak the exact words in the exact tone that the listener needs to hear to wake up.
Wow.
That is the peak of writing perfect algorithmic code. It is perfectly responsive without ever being corrupted by the environment.
Meanwhile, back down here in the trenches, what are the rest of us doing with our hardware? Because I want to get into my favorite part of the source material now, because it uses a metaphor that is slightly gross, but just incredibly brilliant for explaining why we suffer.
Oh, I know exactly which metaphor you're talking about.
Right, but before we get to the gross part, the teachings are very clear that our physical bodies, the hardware we receive from our parents, actually have incredible latent potential.
They do. The text describes our hardware as being complete in merit. Ideally, our eyes have the potential to see through dimensions. Our ears could theoretically hear everything across vast distances. We were basically handed a pristine mechanism.
But instead of having superpowers, most of us can barely see what's right in front of our faces. I mean, we misread emails, we constantly misjudge people's intentions, we assume the worst about our friends.
All the time.
And the source text explains why with a very vivid image. It says it's because we are constantly smearing cat poop over our own eyes and ears.
It is a jarring visual, I'll give you that, but it captures what we do mentally just perfectly.
Break it down for us. What is the cat poop?
The cat poop represents our daily diet of complaints, greed, anger, and obsessions. If you literally smear dirt and filth over your eyes, you obviously can't see.
Right.
And because your vision is completely obscured by that filth, you look around and conclude that the whole world is just dark, smelly, and awful.
It's the ultimate negative feedback loop. It reminds me so much of the negativity bias we talk about in modern psychology. If you walk into a room full of anger, your brain's reticular activating system acts like a filter that only catches negative information.
Exactly. You seek out what confirms your bias.
You will literally imagine flaws in other people, even when they're doing absolutely nothing wrong, just sitting there quietly minding their own business. You're viewing them through the cat poop of your own bad code.
But the teachings also shows the flip side of that mechanism, which is really hopeful. If you actively practice gratitude, if you genuinely praise others, if you work diligently to maintain a pure, quiet mind, you are applying merit to yourself.
You're cleaning the lenses.
Yes, you are washing the lenses, and as a result, your perception of reality becomes sharper, clearer, and far more accurate. You start seeing the world without the distortion. It's not a one-time fix, though. It is a minute-by-minute choice of what you apply to your lenses.
Okay, so every tiny thought throughout our day is a micro choice between applying merit or smearing cat poop. But where do all these minute-by-minute choices ultimately lead us?
That is the ultimate question.
Because this brings us to what I think is the grandest, most mind-bending part of this whole deep dive, is where the micro thought and the macro universe completely unify.
We are moving into the concept of the Western Pure Land now.
Right. And from the perspective of our physical bodies, our current karma, and the physical illusion on the screen we talked about earlier, this Pure Land is described as being incredibly far away, like across billions of galaxies.
Right, from the physical diluted perspective, yeah.
So logically, in the physical realm, we would beat a light-speed spaceship flying from millennia to even get close to the neighborhood of this place.
If you're trapped in the physics of the dream, yes. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, if we look at it from the perspective of the true mind, The screen itself, space and distance do not actually
It
exist.
just vanished.
Completely. The screen doesn't have miles or light years. As the source text beautifully puts it, this mind is not inside, not outside, not apart from the square inch. Because everything is projected on the same screen, the Pure Land is right here, right now. It is overlaid onto this exact moment. Space collapses.
Base collapses. That is heavy.
Yeah.
And the way we access it is through what the teachings call Jinli Xingxiang, which is mental power and mental imagery.
Yes, mental power and mental imagery.
When I was reading how this mechanism works, I had this massive aha moment. Tell me if I'm totally off base here, but the way you're describing that mechanism, it sounds exactly like the GPS system on my smartphone.
Oh, that's really interesting. Walk us through that because the mechanics of that analogy actually map onto the teachings flawlessly.
Well, think about when you get into your car for a road trip. Before you even put the car in drive, you open your map, app, and you type in your destination. You hit route.
Right.
Now, your car hasn't moved an inch out of the garage. You are physically still sitting in your driveway,
Yeah.
but the system has already communicated with the satellites, it has drawn the path, and it has locked your ultimate coordinates into the network.
The math is already done.
Exactly. Your destination is mathematically assured as long as you just follow the route.
That is precisely how the karmic algorithm works with the Pure Land. When you generate a truly pure, deeply determined thought directed toward the Pure Land, your physical body might still be sitting in rush hour traffic on Earth. But your mental power has typed that address into the cosmic GPS. The system locks your ultimate coordinates. The teachings say that at that exact moment of pure intention, a lotus flower physically blooms for you in the Pure Land.
Oh, wow.
Your spot is reserved, the destination is locked before you even arrive.
That is incredibly beautiful. But wait, there's a terrifying flip side to this algorithm, isn't there? This cosmic GPS runs automatically, doesn't it?
It does. It is an unconditional universal law. The algorithm doesn't pause just because you are ignorant of it.
So it runs whether you believe in it, whether you know about Buddhism, or whether you've never thought about spirituality for a single second of your life.
Absolutely.
So if you spend your days constantly typing in anger, hatred, jealousy, and endless complaints, you are actively setting your GPS coordinates to the abyss. To hell, essentially.
You are.
You're sitting in the driver's seat, blindly driving a car toward a cliff, and because you locked in the coordinates through your daily habits, you are absolutely going to crash.
That is the stark, unbending reality of the teachings. You are programming your own suffering.
Is there a cancel route button on this GPS? Like, if I realize right now that I've been typing in terrible coordinates for years, can I hit backspace?
There is a way to cancel the route, yes. And it's called repentance.
Repentance.
But we have to be very, very clear about the mechanics of this. It requires immense mental power. It is not just a superficial verbal, oh my bad, I'm sorry.
The universe doesn't care about a quick apology.
The algorithm doesn't care about empty words. True repentance is a deep, fundamental, agonizing change of heart that is powerful enough to overwrite the bad code you previously entered.
It's a total system reboot.
Exactly. But the source material also highlights a massive misconception people have about saving themselves. People think they can just rely on others, like, oh, I listen to deep podcasts, I hang out with a wise teacher, I go to retreats, I'm safe by association.
That is a dangerous illusion, isn't it?
A very dangerous illusion. A wise teacher is basically just a great co-pilot. They can read the map perfectly and tell you, hey, turn left here to avoid the cliff.
That they can't drive for you.
No. If you resist the teachings, if you cling to your anger and refuse to change your internal code, you are the one ignoring the co-pilot. You will still follow your own bad GPS coordinates.
Because the co-pilot can't physically reach over and wrench the steering wheel out of your hands.
They can't. The steering wheel is entirely 100% in your own hands. You cannot outsource your own karma or your own realization.
Okay, so what does this all mean? Let's bring this entire exploration together. What consultant Benny and Venerable Ivy are really pointing to is that this reality, the brick wall, the traffic, the daily grind, is just a projection of the true mind.
Right.
Our suffering isn't random. It's not a punishment. It is just an algorithm executing the old, flawed code we've written through our past actions.
The output of our own inputs.
Exactly. But the incredible news is that by stopping the endless complaints, by wiping that metaphorical cat poop off our lenses, and by actively training our awareness, we have the power to reprogram our ultimate destination.
We shift from being victims of the dream to being the conscious masters of the code.
Which leaves us with a final and honestly somewhat chilling question for you, the listener.
It's a big one.
Knowing everything we just talked about,
Eh?
knowing that every single passing thought you have is actively typing a destination into your cosmic GPS right here, right now, as this deep dive comes to an end, what coordinates is your mind currently locking in?
Are you plotting a course toward clarity or toward the cliff?
And more importantly, are you ready to arrive at the future you just booked? Keep your hands firmly on the steering wheel out there. We'll see you on the next deep dive.